I think to stay ahead of the market, first, a couple things. Number one, you got to know your numbers, right? So if you're getting cases in and you don't know what the cost of acquisition is, it's going to be, and you don't know what your average case value is, it's impossible for you to scale, to know how to scale and what to be doing. And many firms I speak to have no idea any of their numbers. They're just like, oh yeah, we're doing great. But you ask them a single number, they don't know them. I think you need to understand that, sometimes I hear from lawyers there's AI fatigue, but you need to get through that because AI is here. It's here forever. It's not ever going away. And if you don't get on board, you might not have a firm in a couple of years.
If you're an aggressive, growth-minded attorney looking to transform your law firm into a thriving business, you're in the right place. Welcome to the AGM Attorney Podcast, the #1 podcast dedicated exclusively to aggressive, growth-minded attorneys. Each episode will deliver actionable strategies and insights to help you attract ideal clients, scale your law firm, and dominate your market. And now, here's your host, Josh Konigsberg.
Welcome to the AGM Attorney Podcast, where aggressive, growth-minded attorneys discover proven strategies to transform their law firms into thriving businesses. A special thank you to our sponsor, Law Firm Marketing Pros. They get you more leads, more clients, and more profits. I'm your host, Josh Konigsberg. Let's get aggressive. Hey, Josh Konigsberg back with another exciting episode of the AGM Attorney Podcast. Super excited today to have as a guest Josh Schmerling. He is the co-founder and chief strategy officer at LawPro.ai, an AI-powered platform that helps personal injury firms streamline medical chronologies, strengthen case preparation, and improve operational efficiency. I love all that. He's also a seasoned personal injury attorney and partner at Zirkin and Schmerling Law, where he's handled complex cases and secured multi-million-dollar verdicts. Today, Josh brings together his legal expertise and strategic mindset to help firms work smarter, reduce bottlenecks, and stay competitive in a fast-changing legal landscape. Josh, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me. Really appreciate it. Looking forward to this.
Yeah. So let me ask you, Josh, you've been practicing personal injury law for over 15 years now, right? What led you to the legal tech world and co-found LawPro.ai with your brother and partner, Jeremy?
Yeah. So, I've had my law firm for a while. I started my law firm actually with my law partner while I was still in law school. He's a little bit older than I am.
Wow.
And so we started a number of years ago and we got to a certain scale. And once we got to a certain scale, we were having trouble growing further because it was just taking up so much bandwidth, so much time from a lot of my best people in terms of reading medical records. We kind of got stuck. At that same time, my brother was calling and wanted to get into the legal space, wanted to get into AI. And he called me one day and say, what's your pain point? And I said, these medical records are killing us. We keep getting more cases. We keep having more records to read, and it's holding us back from growing. He said, well, let's try to fix this. And that's how LawPro.ai came to start. He said, we'll hire an engineer. We'll see if we can start fixing this. And we realized we could. And what it did was it took one of my head paralegals who was reading medical records all day long. She's now my director of operations. She helps run the office. She runs the office. And so because she's not reading medical records all day long, another one of my top paralegals who was reading medical records all the time now is the manager of all pre-litigation in my office and is in charge of all trainings. And our office now has grown over 300% in the last couple of years. And I am less hands-on in the office than ever before because I had great people here, but they were just spending all their time reading medical records. In addition to that, all of my staff that were spending all their time reading medical records, they now can spend more time speaking to the clients and doing more high-value type items, which is leading us to more repeat clients, more referrals from clients, happier client base. And so it all kind of works together and has been helping our growth as a law firm. And it's been really exciting with LawPro, the growth we've had as well.
So how long ago was this when you spoke with your brother, brought the engineer in? Take us back.
Yeah, that was summer of 2023. So my brother called me in the summer of 23. Actually, another legal tech startup had asked him to be the head of sales for them. And he called me about it. And I told him, I don't really think this is a great idea. And so he turned it down. That company went out of business a couple months later. And he called me back, a couple hours later, said, what do you think would be a good idea? And this is where we started chatting about this and kind of putting it out on a napkin and going through kind of what this would look like. And we started talking about it and building out our team and figuring out what we were going to do and how we were going to do it in the summer of 23. And then we went into beta in February of 24. We were in beta with about 3 or 4 firms for about 3 months. And then we went live to our first real law firm customers in the May of 24. So it's been around, 14, 15 months that we've been live with law firm customers. We now work with some of the biggest firms throughout the country.
An amazing meteoric journey there. So for attorneys hearing about LawPro.ai for the first time, what does the platform actually do, and what kind of impact are you seeing for the PI firms that adopt it?
So first of all, there's a lot of AI out there right now. And all these AI companies, everyone wants to talk about AI. A couple of things I just want to mention briefly about that. Number one, you got to figure out as a law firm owner, what are your pain points? If your pain point isn't medical records, then you don't need our services. If your pain point is voice and intakes, then you might need another company that does voice and intakes. But if your pain point is dealing with medical records, understanding the medical records and how to move forward, then LawPro is perfect for you. What we do is we take all the medical records that you have, you upload it to our system, and within a matter of minutes, we create file summaries, we create case summaries, we timeline all the medical records, we structure them, and we put event types, code them with event types, whether it's pre-existing conditions or treatments or visits or red flags. We code them with all those things. And then in addition to that, we create PDFs that are hyperlinked to all the medical records. And we have a case assist, which allows you to actually ask questions of the medical records and the billing. And so this can help you everything from the beginning when the client starts getting medical treatment on day one, all the way through settlement and negotiations and trial. We're there every step of the way with our clients. And what we do very differently is we really see ourselves as a partner to the law firms. And what I mean by that is you can use us throughout the whole process, and there's no additional charges. You need us for this part of the process, we're there with you. Once you have the records in our system, that's it. So everything else you get throughout the whole process, even if you use us for 3 years for one case, there's no additional charges or anything else. And we can help from pre-lit to lit to cross-examination to preparing clients for depositions to doing depositions and everything in between.
So let's drill down a little bit on that, Josh, because we all are using AI in different ways, and I obviously being in the tech space, somewhat we use it quite a bit. I've been playing with it for a while as well. So drill down a little bit. What would stop me from just taking all my files and dropping them into ChatGPT and say, hey, put this all together for me and tell me, whatever prompts that I come up with as a personal injury attorney?
Sure. So number one, you'd have some ethical issues doing that, right? ChatGPT is able to use your data and see your data and see what you're putting in there. So if you don't have, you don't have a special agreement with ChatGPT where they're kind of working on your behalf, so you're basically giving your clients confidential information to a third party without permission. So
it's a HIPAA violation. Yeah.
Correct. Mm-hmm. So number one, you have that issue where you could leave yourself up for a prosecution. The other issue you're going to have is you're going to be limited in terms of the amount of tokens you have and the amount of data you can put in there. So sure, you could put in a couple pages, assuming it's not an ethical violation. Let's just say it wasn't. You could put in several pages in there. Maybe you could put in 50 pages in there. At some point, it's going to stop processing what you're doing. For us, there's no limit. We've had law firms upload 60,000 pages at a time. We've had law firms upload thousands of files at one time. There's no limit for us in terms of what we can take in. Then the other thing is you then have to go building out what prompts you want to see and how you want to see it and what filters you want to see and what event types. And think about all the time it would take to do that on medical records, right? When I write a simple paragraph or a letter from ChatGPT, we all use it, right? Whether you use ChatGPT or something else, you still have to ask it, all right, I want to change this a little bit, or I want to change this a little bit. Think about doing that now with, 500 pages of medical records and be able to find the information you want. So it's going to actually take you more time. It's not ethical to do and could get you into legal trouble. And quite often, on most cases, you're not even going to be able to do it because you have too much data that you need to feed in.
So that makes perfect sense. So one feature that firms seem to love is the demand letter and claim drafting tool. Can you walk us through how it works and how much time it saves and how it reduces error?
Yeah, so this is really interesting, the demand letter stuff. It was fascinating to me when I first got into this legal AI business, how much of an emphasis was put on demand letters. It became like a buzzword. And what I have found after speaking with lots of law firms throughout the country is there's really two schools of thought on this. There's some law firms that say, I don't care what the demand letter says. It does not change the value of my case. I'm either going to get the right offer, and if I don't, I'm going to file suit. And then there's other law firms that say the demand letter is everything. The adjuster reads that and carefully goes through it, and they put it through their own AI, the insurance companies. And if I don't have the perfect demand letter, I'm not going to ever sell the case at the right value. So it's very, very different schools of thought. What I have found, my personal experience, is that the law firms that really try cases, that are trial lawyers, they put less care into the demand letters because, yeah, no problem, I'll just try the case, And the law firms that really want settlements and don't want to try cases or don't know how to try cases spend more time and more emphasis on the demand letters. That's what I have seen. I don't think that's a true statement, overall over every firm, but that's typically what I've seen. When it comes to the demand letters, right, if you're a law firm that doesn't care about demand letters, then this won't matter to you at all, right? Because you could use anything, any basic demand letter is totally fine. If you're a firm that cares a lot about the demand letters, then there's a couple of ways you can do it. Some law firms want it to be very complicated. You got to put this, and you got to put that, and you got to put that in. And if you want it that way, even AI firms are still going to take days to put that together because it's so much into it. They're so complicated, right, that you wouldn't be able to put it in a matter of hours. But if you want a basic demand letter that's pretty good, it's going to have all the information, the liability, the injuries, the futures, the damages, all that stuff. You can do that in a matter of seconds. So with LawPro, if you want a demand letter written for you, we do that, of course, and it's written in 20 to 30 seconds. If you want it in more paragraph format, you can do that. If you want it more bullet point format, you can do that. If you want it to be more aggressive or less aggressive, you can do that also. If you want it to mimic exactly how you send demand letters, you can do that also. So we do it. I think demand letters are kind of commoditized at this point. I think it's for most law firms, it's a pretty simple thing to do, except for the ones that really put in tons of effort on these demand letters. My personal opinion is it's kind of a waste to do that. I think the adjuster kind of throws those through the trash a little bit, and they just put in the medical records and bills and see what comes back. But that's my own personal opinion. I think AI is so much more, and legal is so much more than demand letters. And what we do at LawPro, demand letters is a very, very tiny thing of what we do, but I think there's so many more things that are more important that we're helping law firms with.
Well, let's then dive a little bit deeper into that. So, obviously you've worked with the law firm partners and their support staff, right? So how are the different positions within law firms, from the attorneys to the paralegals, using LawPro inside the firm?
Right. Yeah, let's talk about that. So, a client gets injured, right? He hires a law firm. As part of hiring the law firm, he's signing a medical authorization. Law firms are typically using that medical authorization to go get the medical records. What a lot of them do with us is as soon as the records start coming in, they start uploading into our system. Now, what our system will do is you can timeline individual files that you upload. So if you just want to see that file timeline, you can. If you want to see that file summary, you can. And that allows you to really stay on top of your client's medical treatment. For example, if your client is recommended to get pain management and they don't follow up with pain management, you can correct that in real time. And there's two reasons to correct that in real time. Number one is to make sure that your client gets the proper treatment to get themselves better, right? They might hear pain management and say, oh, I'll get to it, or I don't have time for it, I don't want to do it, or whatever the reason is. But it could affect, if a doctor's recommending it, it could affect their treatment outcome. And then the other thing is how it affects the case, right? If there's a recommendation for treatment and a client doesn't get it, that can have a negative impact on the case. So in real time, you're able to self-correct. If there have been recommended medications and they don't get the medication filled, you can have a conversation with the client. Why aren't you getting it filled? Oh, I don't like taking this kind of medication. Maybe there's another medication that they would be willing to take that there needs to be a conversation with the client and the doctor about. So by doing this in real time, by uploading records in real time, you can self-correct things in real time instead of having the case kind of fall apart. If you see large gaps in treatment, one of the things we provide to all of our clients is a visual timeline. We take a whole set of dates and years, and we plot different points so you can visually see all the dates of treatment. And so if you start seeing, you've been uploading records as they come in, that there's a gap there in treatment, you can have a conversation with the client. Why is there a gap here in treatment? Maybe they had something really bad happening in their personal life. Maybe somebody passed away, or they're having trouble with a kid at school, or whatever the reason is. You could then have a doctor address that in the medical records. At the next visit, haven't seen this patient in 3 weeks. Their mother passed away recently. They haven't been able to come get physical therapy, right? And that helps explain a gap in treatment, as just one example. So the pre-lit paralegals and law firms are typically using us often like this to make sure they're tracking and everything's going the way it should in the case. when you're sending the demand letter, you need to know at this point you have all the records, right? And you have all the bills, and you're sending the insurance company a demand letter. And you need to know what's the value. What am I going to ask them for? I don't believe there's a company out there today that is good at predicting values. I don't think it's out there. I don't think the AI is there. And I think it can lead to hallucinations. So LawPro, we specifically do not allow LawPro to predict values. And I think the people that are trying to predict values right now, it can lead to hallucinations. And often the ranges are so big, it's not helpful. So a lawyer needs to understand what value to ask the insurance company for. And we help with that, right? So we help. You can ask our system, what are the value drivers in the case? What are the objective findings of injuries in the case? You can ask anything you want for you to help determine what to ask the insurance company for. You put that in your demand letter, you send it out, okay? The adjuster reviews it. Eventually, they're going to call you, and they're going to call you to start negotiating the case. And when they start negotiating the case, right, there's always excuses why they shouldn't pay full value, whether it's a gap in treatment, your client's malingering, their pain levels were 9 out of 10, then they went to 1 out of 10, now they're back at 9 out of 10. They're not being truthful, right? There's always reason. There's no objective findings of injury. Whatever the reason is, the excuses that the insurance company wants to give, as the lawyer, as the advocate, I have to explain why they're wrong. And, the way that you can do that now using LawPro, you can in real time negotiate with an adjuster by, if they say, there's no objective findings of injury, I can ask LawPro, provide all the objective findings of injury. And in 5 seconds, I'm going to have them all that I can read directly to the adjuster. And that does two things. Number one, the adjusters start to believing, this guy knows this case really well. They try a lot of cases. They're going to go try this case. And number two, if you have an adjuster who's stubborn, who's like, I'm not giving you more value until you can explain more about your case, or you have to give me something new that I haven't already reviewed. This gives them a way to save face, to say, hey, I just gave you a lot of detailed information. Now you can give me a new offer, and you can say, you gave me more information. Okay, I can give you another offer. So that takes you through there, and hopefully you settle your case there. But if you don't, you then have to file a lawsuit. And LawPro can help with the discovery. We do a PDF that's hyperlinked to all the medical records. We provide that to our clients to prepare for depositions and prepare for trial to make sure our clients are properly prepared. We use that PDF to help find experts in the case that we need. And then we use our case assist to help with answering discovery. We can help it also to ask cross-examination questions of the defense expert and to also do our own direct examination of our expert. So all the way through. And I just did one earlier this week where I have a jury trial coming up in November, and I had my expert deposition on Monday. So I can just play the video. He doesn't have to come to court. I can play the video for the jury. And my whole outline was created by LawPro. The vast majority of my questions were created by LawPro, and I just filled in some gaps, which saves hours and takes away some of the human error in terms of would I have missed a question here or there. No, I had it almost all put together by LawPro and just filled in some gaps myself.
Amazing stuff, man. Really amazing. So let's talk about the lessons from your experience that, having built and scaled a successful PI firm, what's something that you've learned about operational efficiencies that most law firm owners overlook as part of your whole journey from obviously starting and being a PI and now implementing LawPro.ai?
Yeah, I think law firm owners, we're glutton for punishment. We love pain. And so it makes it, if you're a decent lawyer, your type personality is kind of a type A personality, and you feel like you have to oversee everything and only you can do it and only you can do it the best, and you're the only one that can do it correctly. And it's just not true, right? You have to rely on good people. Otherwise you will never grow. You will never be bigger than you are today if you don't have good people with you that you can rely on. So a big lesson that I've learned, I do less with the law firm now than I've ever done before, and we're growing at a faster rate than we ever have before. And that's because we've put great people in the right position, and we continue training. You have to always be continuing with training. When you think you have stuff trained, people still aren't trained the right way yet. So we're always continuing with our training. But I think it's being able to understand you can't do everything. You shouldn't do everything. You're not the best at everything. Finding the things you really like, finding the things that you're really good at and you have a passion for, doing just those things and doing them really well, and making sure to build out a good team to do the other stuff to really allow you to grow.
Love that answer. So what is the one mindset shift that you had to make transitioning from practicing law full-time to now helping firms implement this great technology?
Yeah, that's a great question. Big mindset shift for me is I think this is my biggest mindset shift. As a growing law firm, I looked as every other personal injury law firm in my market as competitors. And now that I'm helping, there's a lot of personal injury law firms I help with in Maryland that are in my market that are both bigger firms and smaller firms than me. And LawPro helps them every day. And now I look at them not as competitors. I look at them as basically colleagues that are looking to help injured victims as well. And there's a lot of people that have been injured there. There's a lot of people that have been hurt. And at the end of the day, that's what we're here for. We're here to help these people in our communities. And if I can help a firm that does the same thing I do in my same market, that's fine. Because at the end of the day, that's helping the injured victim. And so it's completely changed my mindset.
That's a great shift in mindset. I'm experiencing the same thing, by the way, with digital marketing agencies. So can you share a success story from a law firm that's adopted LawPro.ai and saw measurable improvements, whether it was in speed or in revenue or case outcomes?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, typically what we see is that time on desk goes down between 20 to 30% at least. So you're able to get the case open and finished that much faster. We see that revenue increases typically over 30%. Now, you're not going to increase revenue on every single case, but on a number of them you will. And I can tell you two personal stories I've had recently, which one was, so I do a lot of dog bite cases here in Maryland. I've helped change the law here in Maryland on appeal on dog bite cases, and it's a especially niche area for us. And I had a client that was injured in a dog bite case, and he had a wrist surgery, and the adjuster told me the top offer is $140,000. Take it or leave it and file a lawsuit if you want to. And LawPro had pulled out that my client, it was 4 words, basically an operative report, which typically lawyers don't read the operative reports that closely, right? You see the basics of it. What was the surgery? What was the pre-surgery diagnosis? What was the diagnosis after the surgery? And it pulled out that my client woke up during the surgery. And I brought that up to the adjuster, and he's like, I totally missed it. I didn't see that at all. Where is that? And from LawPro, I was able to show him exactly on the record where it said that. And his next phone call to me, the offer went up another $100,000. So that was one. And then the other one that really sticks with me that happened pretty recently also is my client was on a bus and was hurt on a bus case. And she went to the hospital one time, had $1,500 in medical bills. Doesn't seem like a big deal. And typically the way that firms would do things in the past, if you saw 1,500 meds with one hospital visit, okay, the case is worth $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, whatever it is, right? We run everything through LawPro because we don't want to miss anything. And what it pulled out was, out of all the hospital records, it talked about how the client injured their vocal cords, their voice box. I called the client to find out what this was talking about. And she said, yeah, when the bus accident happened, my neck hit the seat in front of me. And I haven't been talking the same since. My voice sounds differently. It's harder for me to talk. I was like, well, do you think maybe you need to see another doctor about that? Maybe you should see your primary? She said, yeah. So she followed it with her primary, and she's continued to follow up with specialists now. And it turns out she's got a permanent injury to her vocal cords from this. So it took a case that was worth, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000. We have now filed this case in the circuit court, which in Maryland is the higher court. And from my mind, this is a 6-figure case now, right? So these are just a couple of examples. Give you some macro and some micro there in terms of what I've seen from other firms. Typically, firms don't get specific with me on their cases, like, hey, this is exactly what happened, but they will tell us kind of how we're improving time on desk and improving revenue. And when you take those two numbers and you put them together, that just leads to more money to be able to use on marketing, which should be something great that you're happy to hear.
Love to hear it. So we're talking a lot about what the attorneys experience and how they're using it. Now let's take it down to a deeper level. And this is really impacting the culture of law firms. So what kind of feedback are you getting from the paralegals and the legal assistants that are typically buried in the casework?
Yeah. So it's been really interesting to watch this. And I see this at a lot of firms that we work with also. When LawPro was first introduced to my firm and a lot of other firms we work with, the paralegals immediately say, we don't want it. We don't want it. We've been doing cases like this for forever. We do a good job. We're good at what we do. We don't need anything else. And I think part of that is fear, that they're fearful that they might lose their jobs from AI. I don't think firms are looking to cut people that are good people. So I don't think that's a rational fear, but people get nervous about that. What I had to do in my firm is I had to say, and we do this for everything we do in our office. We try lots of different things. And I always say, give me 60 days. Give me 60 days. Let's try this out. If it doesn't work well in 60 days, we'll move to a different direction, but at least give it a good faith effort. So that's what I had to do in my office. And I've seen that happen in a lot of other offices that we work with. And I can tell you now, if I told my law firm that we weren't going to have LawPro any longer, I'd have people lining up to quit. They can't imagine having to sit and read medical records all day long. They can't imagine how they used to do it. It's been a huge blessing for us and a lot of firms we work with. And I think what it does is, if you're a paralegal that spends most of your days reading medical records, it gets mundane, it gets boring. You're doing the same thing every time. We're humans. We like human interaction, right? Typically, we like speaking with people, interacting people, helping with our clients, which is the vast majority of the people who are in this business, if you're in it for the right purpose, is helping people, right? And reading medical records all day is something you used to have to do to help those people, but now you can really communicate with them more to help them. And so I think that has gone a long way when law firms see that, when paralegals see that they can actually communicate more with their clients and really engage and understand their stories rather than having their head buried in medical records. It keeps the burnout right down, and it keeps it different every day because it's a different story every day. Every client has a different story. And so it keeps kind of changing up every day instead of just every day you coming in and being like, today I have to read 100 more pages. Today I have to read 100 more pages. And I think it's helped our culture tremendously.
And what you just described to me and the impact that you're having, and from when we met and you started to share this with me, that's exactly why I invited you on the show, just because of the impact has been so tremendous for so many of your clients. So let's pivot a little bit and talk about some advice for the aggressive growth-minded attorneys out there that are listening. So those that want to grow aggressively but are drowning in this repetitive work, right? What is the one small step that they can take to start working smarter today, beside picking up the phone and calling you?
They certainly could call me or email me, Josh at LawPro.ai. But first of all, figure out your biggest pain point and what's taking up a lot of your time that you pass on to somebody else. So if your biggest pain point can be solved with AI, then use AI and do it. If it's a pain point that you need to make another hire, then go ahead and do it. The best investment you can make is in yourself and your company. So yeah, there's stocks out there and there's VCs you can invest in and property and whatever else. But I think the biggest bang for your buck is yourself. And so take some money, invest in your business, whether it means more marketing you have to spend to get the cases, or more technology you need in your law firm, or more people, or maybe it's all three.
This has been great. Do you have any final nuggets of wisdom that you'd like to share with the aggressive growth-minded attorneys out there that want to scale and stay ahead of the pack in such a competitive market like PI?
Yeah, I think to stay ahead of the market, first, a couple things. Number one, you got to know your numbers, right? So if you're getting cases in and you don't know what the cost of acquisition is, it's going to be, and you don't know what your average case value is, it's impossible for you to scale, to know how to scale and what to be doing. And many firms I speak to have no idea any of their numbers. They're just like, oh yeah, we're doing great. But you ask them a single number, they don't know them. I think you need to understand that, sometimes I hear from lawyers there's AI fatigue, but you need to get through that because AI is here. It's here forever. It's not ever going away. And if you don't get on board, you might not have a firm in a couple of years. I kind of compare it to when lawyers went from a typewriter to a computer. Any lawyer that decided to stay on a typewriter forever, they weren't going to be around very long. And so get on board. Now is the greatest technology age law firms have ever had. It's super exciting, and find the right, technology that works for you and get on board. And I would say just treat your staff well. They are going to allow you to grow. And without them, you won't have the growth that you want and need in the future.
And treating them well includes creating an environment and a corporate culture that really is, I want to say, indicative of what you were just talking about, like how do you make their work easier? How do you make it more pleasurable to get their job done? So I want to pivot now and talk about, we've talked a lot about business, right? But we all know we like to do business with people we know, like, and trust. So let's humanize this a little bit, Josh. And this is what I call the lightning round. This is where people get to know you a little bit better, like you, and then trust you. So I have 10 questions. I'm just going to fire these questions off and whatever pops in your mind. Okay.
Great.
No right or wrong answers. Okay. So what never fails to make you laugh, Josh?
My law partner, Joe, who we have a window between each other. He is the funniest person I know, and he makes me laugh every single day. I'm lucky to have him as part of our team.
Love it. So what is the best compliment you ever got?
That I look like I lost weight.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, okay. Is there a person that you'd like to trade places with for a day? Anyone in history?
Mark Cuban.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
His life looks pretty fun.
Okay. Yeah. Guilty pleasure?
Love sports. So try to watch it when I can. Don't have a ton of time for it, but love sports. I love ice cream also.
What is the best gift that you've ever given someone?
These are good questions. These are good.
It's a great question.
This is harder than the business stuff. The best gift I've ever given someone probably would be the ring to my wife to get her to marry me.
Wow. Okay. I love it. Okay. So if you're listening out there, Mrs. Schmerling, congratulations. Right. So what is the worst piece of advice you ever got?
I've been really lucky. I've had really great mentors that have helped me quite a bit. I think the worst piece of advice that I ever got was just, basically to take it easy, right? Things are going well and you can take it easy. And I did that for a while. And then one day a light just kind of flipped on me. You're like, wait, I've got one life here. I've got one shot at this. Like, let's push it. Let's see what we can do. Let's have fun. And so I think that's been something that's had to change in my mind.
Love it. So what is the one thing you wish you were better at dealing with?
My kids. I've got 3 young children, 8, 5, and 20 months.
On that one.
8, 5, and 20 months. And I love my kids, 3 boys. And, but after a hard day of work and somebody gets upset about something and starts crying, and I'm just like, come on, guys, this is not a big deal. You got a great life here. We're all very lucky to have been born in this country. And, we could have be born anywhere, and you don't get all the things that we get here in the United States.
Sounds like a lot of gratitude right there, right? So what is your favorite childhood movie?
Love the movie Sandlot.
Oh, that's a great movie. Yeah, good stuff. So what is the one book that changed your life?
I typically like to read. I don't read as much as I would like to, but I like to read Radical Candor.
Okay.
Basically how to treat other people based on their backgrounds, make sure that your employees trust you. Not everyone's the same. If you have somebody coming from one background versus another, you got to treat them differently and speak with them differently.
What was the title again?
Radical Candor.
Oh, I love it. Okay. So tell us something that most people don't know about you.
Most people don't know I am 6'4", but yet I have been a vegetarian since the age of 9.
Wow. Yes, you are. I've met you. You are 6'4". So this has been wonderful having you as a guest, Josh. Can you please tell the listeners the best way to contact you and learn more about LawPro.ai?
Yeah, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you very much for having me. Email's the best way, josh@lawpro.ai. It's LAWPRO.ai. So josh@lawpro.ai. Thank you so much for having me. This has been great.
This has been fabulous. Okay, that's a wrap for today. Again, thanks for listening to the AGM Attorney Podcast. Until next time, this is Josh Konigsberg signing off. Bye for now.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the AGM Attorney Podcast. Now it's time to put these strategies into action and accelerate your growth. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, subscribe, and share. And we'll see you next time.